GM has built some genuinely great engines and some absolute disasters. And right now in the used car market, they are sitting on the same lots at similar prices, with no way to tell them apart from the outside. I am going to walk you through the 4 Chevy engines that have cost people the most money and the most heartbreak over the last 15 years. But at the end, I will give you the one GM engine I actually recommend, because if you are shopping for a used Chevy right now, it might change what you go looking for. Number 1 to avoid: the 5.3-liter and 6.2-liter V8 with AFM or DFM. If you are shopping for a used Silverado, Tahoe, Suburban, or any full-size Chevy from the last 15 years, this is the engine you are most likely to encounter, and the one that has caused more heartbreak in my shop than anything else on this list. General Motors built their cylinder deactivation system to shut off 4 cylinders at highway speed to save fuel. To make that work, they designed a set of collapsible lifters, each one with a tiny locking pin that relies on oil pressure to hold it in place. When the sleeve around that pin wears down even slightly, the pressure bleeds off and the lifter starts failing. In the worst cases, it spins inside its guide and grinds a flat spot into the camshaft lobe. General Motors' own paperwork says that if that sleeve has been spun, the engine does not get repaired. It gets replaced entirely. General Motors wrote that about their own engine and kept selling it for 15 more years. The oil burning showed up first. General Motors put out a service bulletin saying the AFM pressure relief valve was spraying oil onto the pistons inside the crankcase. That oil was building up in the ring grooves and causing the engine to burn through oil. When customers brought their trucks in, dealers across the country told them that burning oil was normal for newer engines. I think that is one of the most dishonest things a manufacturer has ever told its customers, and I would say that in any room. Eventually, it ended up in federal court, and the verdict is worth knowing before you go near one of these trucks. In 2016, the first class action over this was filed. 6 years later, a jury in California handed GM a verdict of $102.6 million. The settlement landed at over $150 million, and about 38,000 Silverado and Tahoe owners split that money between them. Each owner walked away with around $2,000 to $3,000. The average dealer repair bill for this failure was $4,000 to $11,000. They won in court against one of the largest companies in the world and still came out behind. That tells you everything about who this system was designed to protect. I did a full lifter and cam replacement on a customer's Silverado a couple of years back. The truck had 72,000 miles on it. He bought it from a Chevy dealer with a factory warranty 2 years earlier. The bill was $8,500. He sat in my waiting room for a long time before he said anything. In 2025, GM recalled nearly 600,000 vehicles with the 6.2-liter L87 engine, covering certain 2021 through 2024 Silverados, Tahoes, Suburbans, and Yukons. This was for crankshaft and rod bearing failures, a completely separate problem from the lifters. One owner suing GM in a case still going through the courts says his 2021 Sierra lost power on a highway bridge at 8,250 miles. If you already own one of these trucks, an AFM disabler that plugs into the diagnostic port costs about $60 and tells the engine to never drop cylinders. It will not undo existing wear, but for anything in the 2014 through 2020 model year range, it stops the failure cycle before it starts. That engine gets the most press because the lawsuit money was big, but the next one is less famous, and it quietly destroyed a generation of family crossovers, and a lot of owners had no idea GM had a secret warranty for it the whole time. Number 2 to avoid: the 3.6-liter V6. This engine ran in the Traverse, the Equinox V6, the Camaro V6, the Malibu V6, and a long list of Buick, Cadillac, and GMC vehicles from around 2007 through about 2018. If a GM crossover or sedan from this era has a V6, there is a real chance this is the one under the hood. The problem is timing chain stretch. This engine uses 3 timing chains instead of 1, and all 3 can go. When the chains stretch far enough, they throw off the cam timing, the engine starts misfiring, and if you keep driving, it destroys itself from the inside. Complaint data put the average chain failure on a 2011 Traverse at 71,500 miles. Some owners saw it at 28,000. The average repair cost more than $5,000. When the shop opens it up and finds the water pump also needs to come out, the bill jumps fast. That happens constantly because the water pump on this engine is driven by the timing chain and lives behind the timing cover. I have seen a Traverse invoice for $7,900 on a car where the owner had 0 warning signs until the engine started rattling one morning on the way to school drop off. Once enough people complained, GM did something about it. But what they did and who they chose to help tells you a lot about how this company handles these situations. After enough Traverse and Acadia owners filed complaints, GM quietly extended the warranty on timing chain replacements to 10 years and 120,000 miles, covering the repair at dealerships across the country. Their own customer letter said the software fix they had sent out did not actually fix it for everyone. That is about as close to an admission of guilt as you will get from a manufacturer. But the 2008 model year was excluded from that coverage entirely. 2007 got it, and so did 2009. 2008 had the same engine with the same part numbers and was left out completely. If you owned a 2008 Traverse with a stretch chain at 60,000 miles, you paid out of pocket while your neighbor with an identical car got it covered. I think that was a deliberate decision to limit who they had to pay, and it was wrong. GM also revised this engine around 2012 and said the chain problem was addressed. 2012 Traverse owners still reported chain failures at 64,000 miles. Do not trust any used car listing that says this engine was fixed. 2 down, 2 more to go. The next one hit people who were just trying to buy a sensible crossover, and it took a $42 million federal class action and over 38,000 Equinox and Terrain owners filing claims to get GM to admit something was wrong. Number 3 to avoid, the 2.4-liter Ecotec 4-cylinder. This powered the 2010 through 2017 Chevy Equinox, the GMC Terrain for the same years, and various Malibu and Buick Verano models from this era. A class action called Berman versus General Motors settled in 2019 for roughly $42 million. The lawsuit said the piston rings wore out too early, and the engine was burning up to 1 quart of oil per 1,000 miles. GM's own standard at the time said burning 1 quart per 2,000 miles was acceptable. These cars were burning twice that, and the standard dealer answer to every customer who came in was that it was normal. The timing chain on this engine has a separate failure on top of the oil problem. The upper chain guide is held in place by a bolt that threads into a soft aluminum head. That bolt can shear completely off. The plastic guide breaks apart, and the pieces travel through the engine. I have personally found them in the oil filter. If you are shopping for one of these vehicles used, pull the oil filter, cut it open, and look at what is inside before you give anyone $1. That is a free check that takes 2 minutes, and it can save you thousands. General Motors also designed this engine with a permanent hole where a replaceable PCV valve should be, and when that hole clogs with carbon and sludge, crankcase pressure builds and takes out the rear main seal. Replacing the rear main seal means pulling the transmission. I charged a customer $2,800 for that job on a 2014 Verano at 74,000 miles. He had already paid for timing chain work on the same car 2 years earlier. And this last one is the one that actually caught me off guard the first time I started seeing it in the shop, because the failure is happening on stock unmodified cars that have barely been broken in. Number 4 to avoid, the 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, the LTG. This engine went into the 2016 through 2023 Camaro 2.0, the Cadillac ATS and CTS 2.0 turbo from 2013 through 2019, and the Buick GS. The pistons on this engine crack, and they do it on completely stock cars that have never been pushed hard. In late 2014, GM issued a customer satisfaction program after owners of 2013 ATS and Malibu models reported misfires from piston damage. What was actually causing it was a condition called pre-ignition, where combustion fires before the spark plug does. The factory piston top ring gaps were too tight, and that force hammered the ring land until the piston cracked open. GM's fix was a new spark plug and an ECM software update. They never changed the piston design. Even after the fix, owners were still reporting cracked pistons at 5,200 miles, at 6,800 miles, and at multiple points under 40,000 miles. A community tracking these failures has over 30 confirmed cases, most of them on cylinder 3 or 4. On top of the piston problem, General Motors engineers buried a ventilation valve inside the valve cover itself, where you cannot see it without taking things apart. It took aftermarket engineers physically tearing this engine down to find it. That hidden valve feeds oil vapor directly into the intake manifold, and combined with direct injection, carbon starts building up on the intake valves early. Budget for a walnut blasting service somewhere around 40 to 60,000 miles, $450 to $800 at an independent shop, and closer to $1,500 at a dealer. A class action targeting the 2014 through 2019 version of this engine was filed in 2023. 4 engines, lawsuits, class actions, secret warranties, and repair bills that run into 5 figures. That is the used Chevy market if you do not know what to look for. But there is one engine in the General Motors lineup that avoided all of it, and it is the reason I still send people towards certain used Chevys without hesitation. The only Chevy engine worth buying right now is the 6.2-liter LS3. And if you have never seriously considered one before, the next couple of minutes will change that. This engine ran from 2008 through 2017, and it lives in specific vehicles you can still find at real prices. The Corvette C6 with the LS3 runs roughly $20,000 to $30,000 today. The Chevy SS sedan, a 4-door rear-wheel drive car that somehow never got the attention it deserved, sells for around $35,000 to $50,000 and comes with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. The Pontiac G8 GXP also carries this engine, though they are getting harder to find. And for anyone looking at a used Camaro, the 2010 through 2015 Camaro SS with the manual transmission is the one to look for. Check the 8th digit of the VIN before you commit. The letter W means LS3. The letter J means the L99, which has AFM hardware and everything that comes with it. Do not skip that check. The LS3 uses port fuel injection. Fuel sprays onto the back of the intake valves before they open and keeps them clean over time. You will never pay for walnut blasting on an LS3. There is also no cylinder deactivation hardware anywhere in the Corvette, the manual Camaro, the SS, or the G8. It is a standard hydraulic roller lifter setup with none of the collapsing hardware, locking pins, or pressurized oil circuits that eventually take the whole valvetrain down with them. The LS3 does have its wear patterns at high mileage. The valve guides soften over time, and you will see light oil consumption starting around 80 to 100,000 miles. The stock valve springs are the weak point on a car that sees track use. Those are things you can plan for, not catastrophic breakdowns at 40,000 miles. After everything you just heard, that difference matters. If you want the clearest argument for the LS3, look at what repairs actually cost, compared to the numbers you have been hearing for the last 10 minutes. A top-end refresh runs around $1,500 at an independent shop. A brand new GM Crate LS3 engine is $6,195. A shop that serviced a fleet of police Tahoes with failing 5.3 active fuel management engines switched to LS3 Crate engines instead of buying the GM Riemann 5.3. They picked up 91 horsepower on the dyno, and the LS3 cost them $300 less than the GM Riemann. That is the engine in one story. A C6 Corvette at $22,000 with an LS3 is a more reliable long-term investment than a used Silverado at the same price with a 5.3 and 80,000 miles of active fuel management cycles already on it. I will stand behind that in the comments if anyone wants to argue it. 4 engines to stay away from, 1 engine worth buying. That is what the used Chevy market looks like in 2026, if you know what you are looking at. If you want to know what to actually look for when you go to inspect one of these vehicles before buying, I have a full used truck and SUV inspection walkthrough on this channel. I go through it hands-on in the shop bay, and if you watch it before your next purchase, you will catch things the dealer is hoping you walk right past. Drop a comment below and tell me which one of these engines you have dealt with. I already know a lot of you have a story. I will see you over there.